These events occurred, that there had been consideration at a referendum and or town meeting, and that 800 to 1,000 people in one way or another participated.
Right.
And 300 signed a petition on the issue of raising his salary.
And
this item, as it appears on an agenda, it says first selectman's position. Can you represent to me that that would suggest to any reasonable person that they're going to resurrect the issue of the first selectman's salary at that time?
Yes, in fact...
you can suggest it, but can you suggest it without tongue in cheek?
My tongue is squarely out of my cheek, okay. Commissioner.
All right. But the hearing officer found contrary.
Well, he may have. I disagree with the hearing officer. What that meeting was, first of all, it wasn't this first selectman, by the way. It was a prior administration. But what happened, the agenda item on for the Board of Selectmen to consider that raise was the exact same agenda item. And that's how it was placed on the agenda, and that gave rise. And by the way, commissioners, everyone, Ms. Calico is not going to say that she didn't make that meeting because the issue was vague. She was there, and she participated in the audience of the citizen part of it.
And how many other people were there?
It was a normal-sized meeting, Commissioner.
How many?
About 12 to 20, which is what we normally get at a Board of Selectmen meeting, unless there's.
When it's money involved, you get more.
Pardon me?
Okay. Now go ahead.
Now, I should also point out that the only thing that's even relevant that the Board of Selectmen have control about about the first selectman's position is salary and benefits. That's it. Everything else is defined by the charter and or state statutes. There is nothing else that it possibly could have been. And as I pointed out, the same agenda had another position, which was discuss salary, and not one person objected to that, including Ms. Calico. Now, finally, the problem that I have with the decision is we are that there is a $200 fine for all the respondents, and the respondents are Mr. Koskelowski and Mr. Rosebrock and Mr. Lombardi and myself and the Board of Selectmen. And I don't know how we're going to apportion that. First of all, I should point out that Mr. Koskelowski wasn't even there, and he got fined. And to correct one of the findings, Mr. Koskelowski, on finding 6, it was indicated that Mr. Rosebrock put the item on the agenda, which they are entitled to do, which is true, and Mr. Koskelowski didn't put the item on the agenda. When his position was being discussed, he left the room. It's hard for me to understand what he did that was egregious enough to deserve a fine. By fining the Board of Selectmen, I assume you're fining the Board of Selectmen, which is everybody. Are they to divide it by 7? If they're to divide it by 7, what about the one individual who voted against the pay raise? Is he or she to join in also? That is vague, which is kind of ironic because we're here because of a vague agenda item. And to me, the decision itself concerning this is vague. And also, last but not least, my name hasn't even been mentioned in the entire proposed finding, other than being a respondent. And due process requires that if you were to find somebody, you should at least apprise them of what acts of omission or commission they did to deserve that fine. I don't see anything in this finding to indicate anything that I personally did. Or Mr. Koskelowski, how could he possibly have done something if he wasn't even there? Or the individual, once again, who in fact voted against the pay raise.
Are you finished?
Yes.
You may speak.
Thank you. I'm going to respond to Mr. Temple's arguments in more or less in the order he gave them. As far as the first selectman excusing himself from the meeting, that is true. However, the first selectman signed that agenda. The first selectman knew what that item was on the agenda. He knew it was vague. He said at the meeting himself he didn't understand it, and yet he did not ask for clarification. The first selectman has been in office 13 years. Not continuously, but has been in office a total of 13 years.
I'll be giving
No,
evidence.
please don't interrupt.
So he knows, or should know, the rules of FOI. He has himself brought cases in the past regarding vague items on other boards' agendas. The money, as far as the first selectman denying the raise, the first selectman said he would not take the raise after the FOI hearing was held. The money is still in the agenda, is still in the budget, and is available to him at any time to take during this budget year. As far as my not filing the things in a timely manner, I was not given any time limit for the addresses. I did not know the addresses were requested, and this was not brought up at the initial public hearing, which would have been, I would think, the venue to bring it up in, not as a last or second thought when nothing else seems to be going your way. Let me see. I have to say that I agree totally with the preliminary decision. I think Mr. Perpetua has a very good grasp of what actually happened and what was going on. I specifically requested that people be fined. I specifically requested that those certain people be fined. Mr. Koskelowski, because he authored the agenda, he signed the agenda, and he was well aware of the fact that this was a vague agenda item. Mr. Temple, because he was sitting in the room, and at many, many meetings, often advises everyone as to what is needed for FOI, whether FOI is being violated or not. However, on this occasion, when it was brought up that one of the members of the board had actually called FOI and asked for some information and advice, and was told that it appeared that the item in question on the agenda was illegal, and brought this up during discussion that it needed to be added to the agenda as the first selectman's raise, she was not listened to. Mr. Temple offered no comment at all as to whether he agreed or disagreed with her, and he does get paid while he sits at the meetings. So that is why he is named in the complaint. Mr. Rosebrock, this was the second time Mr. Rosebrock placed the item on the, placed an item of a selectman's raise on the agenda. The last